Hello everybody, and welcome to my first review of Naruto. Kind of a long time coming, and at the same time, kind of something I never thought I'd ever record in my life. But here we are, very similar to how I feel about my One Piece videos. Here we are with my first Naruto one. So just to get something out of the way, as you can probably tell by the video length, these are not going to be similar to my One Piece reviews. These are going to be much shorter, much more general. In my One Piece reviews, I very much recap a lot of the plot and the events, the sequence of events that happen in the plot, and lend bits of thoughts and what I think might be insightful points or thematic parallels or character work or observations I made throughout as we go through this chronologically. With the Naruto reviews, I just am going to be much more general, much more casual, much more broad, and non-specific. So there won't be a ton of recap about what happened, there won't be a ton of thematic analysis, it's just going to be my general thoughts. And if you want more of the play-by-play and the talking about the character work and the character writing and the themes, I would definitely recommend following me on Twitch, where I read every single chapter live every single Wednesday. Wednesday is Naruto Day, and it's been a great journey so far. Just to be clear, today we're going to be talking about the first arc, the Land of Waves arc, but at this moment, I've gotten all the way until the end of, close to the end of Sasuke Retrieval, so I am deep into the series, 230-something chapters in. But today we're going to be talking about the first arc in specifics. Next video will be the Chunin exams, and we'll go on from there. Now, I'm going to be making sort of statements and general thoughts about the things that happen within the arc and the characters and the things that stood out to me, like I said, in a very casual, non-specific way. And I won't be very analytical, like I said, but because I am so much farther ahead in the series than Land of Waves, some things might bleed over into what happens later on. So I might say something about Sasuke that may allude to something that happens after Land of Waves. There might be a little bit of that, so apologies for that, but hopefully it's understandable and hopefully it isn't a problem. I don't think it will be. But general first impressions, this series, one thing that I realized right away is that this series is go, go, go. The pacing does not let up, at least given what I've read. There are breather segments when there needs to be, but every time I feel like there might be 10 chapters of slower content, Kishimoto just ramps it up really quickly again. The pacing in this series is so tight, so focused, so rapid. There's always something happening every chapter. There's always bits of substance, and yet at the same time, it flows so well. The art is so clean and crisp, and it's paneled so well, and that just continues as you go on throughout the series. And I just find myself, the chapters just melt away. The chapters are just, I've read 29 chapters in one stream, and that was like a maybe 5 hour stream. And that's the most chapters I've ever read of anything during a stream, and that was for Naruto. And I could have gone on longer. I really could have, if I just took like a few minute break, I could have gone on for more. Because it's just so easy to get yourself immersed and lost in the flow of Naruto. And it helps that the chapters aren't super text heavy most of the time. In fact, probably the only real flaw I can see with the series that I really find notable, and even then it's very minor, is that the series can sometimes over-explain in overly convoluted ways concepts that are actually pretty simple, like things to do with chakra, things to do with how these characters can increase their chakra output or manipulate things in different ways or train themselves using the power system. It's really not too complex a system, but I think Kishimoto over-elaborates on it, over-explains it, and makes it feel more confusing than it actually is. That's basically my only real criticism of the series, and it's so minor, like it hardly has an impact on my enjoyment, but figured I'd mention it, just because I gotta have one negative, I guess? But no, overall, like I said, the art's great. In black and white, in particular, this feels like a series made for black and white. During my streams, I find myself asking, or my mods send me color pages of a lot of big, significant panels and spreads, and those look great a lot of the time, but I do think that mostly, by and large, this is a series that, unlike maybe One Piece, I feel lends itself almost exclusively to black and white. There's some spreads and color pages and stuff that look really good, and there's some that look a little bit enhanced compared to black and white, but those are few and far in between, and I find myself generally liking the aesthetic of black and white more. But, sorry, I'm all over the place in terms of this review. I pretty much alluded to that already. It's very casual, very off the cuff, not structured at all, but those are just my thoughts. It's very easy to get yourself lost in. The pacing, there's always stuff happening, it's always engaging. The lulls are so short and well planned out and taught in and of themselves. Naruto is just a masterclass in efficiency. In addition to that, I find the world building to be an aspect that I find really interesting because, simply put, it's passed me by, a lot of it. I'm willing to admit that. I think that Kishimoto puts a great amount of subtextual, subtle world building in the background, and there's a lot of thematic details that I have been able to parse out as we've made our way through the story with regards to the things happening in the background of the world. There's a lot of ideas that are conveyed through the world building, but because I'm so enraptured and engaged with the moment-to-moment action and the character writing and the cast and the themes, like plot, characters, themes, how they all coalesce, the fights and how they engage me, and the character dynamics between characters. All of those things are front and center, and I'll get to some of them in a bit, but all those things are front and center, so much so that my brain doesn't really feel like it has the time to process the world building. Maybe in the future I could reread and properly appreciate it, but I'm going to be straight up and hold up my hands and say that the world building, the setting, I think it's very good, but I haven't been able to take it in because I've been so focused on other elements and just so wanting to progress the story that it hasn't completely sunk in, I guess. So that's on my end. I think it's good. I don't fully appreciate it because of that. Hopefully that's understandable. If you've read this, then you probably feel similarly, maybe? I don't know. Right out the gates, though, something that I really notice about Naruto as a series is that the themes are very front and center. They're very kind of front-loaded in a lot of ways, but then a lot of the details are filled in gradually. Same with sort of the character dynamics. To me, it feels like this series front-loads certain things and hooks you with those things, and then a lot of the details and richness flow in afterwards. So for example, what I realized right away was there's a huge emphasis on character dynamics between multiple characters, a lot of time between two characters, and the first one we see is between Naruto and Iruka, who have a lovely dynamic that I think is, to this moment, Iruka's kind of faded in the background a little bit with regards to plot relevance, but up till this moment, it's one of the most endearing for me. So great way through the first chapter, through Iruka and Naruto's dynamic and the heart there, to really illustrate, firstly, to have us like these characters, to make us adhere ourselves to them, but also to sort of key us into the shinobi culture, what's going on there, the societal dynamics, shinobi's place in this world, and most of all, to understand the loneliness and the burden of Naruto. As a boy, the type of person he is, and the type of things he struggles with, that loneliness. So the first chapter is great for that, and then we're introduced to the likes of Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, and these three are just, they feel like family. These four characters make a team that I find very easy to love. Each of them are very different. They're all full of flaws and little subtleties, and Kakashi is the most outwardly, I guess, endearing in a lot of ways, but he's got lots of really interesting subtext with regards to how he looks at his friends, how he would go to the ends of the earth to defend his comrades, the kind smiles, the little expressions and bits of softness in his eye when you see him smiling through his mask. Kakashi's extremely likable, and the more the story goes on, the more details get filled in, and how he deals with sort of, I guess some of the details behind why he is the way he is, why he's so aloof. Obviously, he's that way because he is who he is, but there's also bits of detail there. Anyways, Kakashi's great. What a great mentor. If I had to do a little bit of a prediction, he feels like, to me, like a character that could die in this series, and I hope he doesn't, but if he does, that could be an amazing, amazing turning point for the series. But, we'll see. I'm getting ahead of myself. Naruto himself, I guess I touched on him, but in general, I think he is Similar in a lot of ways to sort of Luffy and Gon and Hinata, similar to shonen characters in general in being this force of nature, this storm that gets people lost in their midst and almost forces them, just through the nature of who they are, to join them. But obviously Naruto is his own sort of character. He has this positive, vibrant energy, and he just wants to connect with people and find this home, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, more so than physically. And he reaches out to all sorts of people. Is he flawed? Of course. But he's just so lonely and has been, and he's been ostracized for the detail of the nine-tailed fox and all the stuff going on with that. And yet the way in which he navigates the world, the way in which he applies himself, and the way in which he is skilled in certain ways, certain unorthodox ways, sort of book smart rather than, street smart rather than book smart, it all coalesces into a character that's exceedingly likable and one who you just really want to root for as someone who deserves more, deserves friends, deserves family. I really felt that in the first arc. And from then on, it's a great foundation for some beautiful character dynamics between the likes of Sasuke, Gaara, Sakura, Neji. Neji's a big one. This is much later on, though, so I won't get into that. But this forms the foundation for so many beautiful dynamics that really elevate Naruto to be one of the best characters in the series, and who knows, maybe one day he'll be one of my favorite shonen protagonists in general. We'll see, the potential's there, for sure. He's got a lot of overlap with what some might think of as the traditional shonen protagonist stuff, but there's so much more to him at the same time, so much that ties into the themes of Naruto, the idea of fate and the nuances of what may be or may not be a predetermined destiny, and breaking out of what others may view your destiny to be, or what you yourself may view your destiny to be, the fate of a shinobi, the role of a shinobi, the role you are given once born, breaking free of that. I feel like those sorts of things are very emblematic to what Naruto is as a series, and I think he is key to that. Now, Sasuke, oh boy, there's so much to say about Sasuke, but a lot of it has to do with later arcs, such that I don't think I actually have much to say about him. But the foundational work for him is absolutely beautiful. It's great stuff. His dynamic with Naruto is immediately really interesting, and he is, as much as he is a kid, he is plagued by this trauma that puts him on this quest, and that this self-imposed burden and duty that he needs to accomplish, that is to avenge his clan by killing his brother, Itachi. And attached to that are insecurities, inferiority complex, pettiness, very human flaws. Flaws isn't the right word, but like very human tendencies to dislike others for impressing in ways that he may not be able to impress in. He dislikes others that are shown to be more powerful than him. He wants to prove himself, and he's very desperate and anxious to do so because that's sort of compensation for his upbringing and what he wasn't able to receive, the connections and the affection he wasn't able to receive. He wasn't able to receive that earlier, so he acts out in a lot of ways in order to sort of reach out and feel that which he never felt. He is like Naruto, very lonely, in very different ways, but both of them are very lonely, and he conflates a lot of that with being strong, being acknowledged by his brother, being acknowledged by others, being shown to be strong. And so when he finds himself looking at others as equals when they used to be below him, or rather, seeing that others may be surpassing him, he has a lot of trouble with that. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sasuke's a great character, but I wouldn't say that the specifics about why he's so great are shown in Land of Waves, which is crazy considering the way in which he sacrifices himself for Naruto, and the way that their bond continues to grow here. But even still, yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to him. So, long story short, TLDR, Sasuke's great. He is already one of my favorite shonen characters. He is super up my alley. I, for the life of me, cannot understand the criticism he gets. Maybe that happens later in the series? We'll see. But he is just a phenomenal character, and his dynamic with Naruto is immediately just so rich and so layered and so engaging. And last of all, but definitely not least, Sakura. even just in the Land of Waves, Sakura is great and goes through this underlying arc of her own, as, she is not classically likable in the beginning. She is very rude to Naruto, she's really obsessed with Sasuke, but the thing is, a lot of that is very natural for a 12-year-old girl. As much as these kids might be child soldiers, they're still kids with a lot of the same tendencies as kids have. And the way in which she interacts with Naruto and Sasuke is very genuine to that. 12-year-old kids act the way Sakura does, but what's key is that she doesn't stay there. She very much changes the way in which she approaches life, the way in which she challenges herself, the way in which she takes up the call, and the way in which she looks at others like Naruto. She grows so much, and I think a lot of the ways in which she impresses me are shown later as well, but in the Land of Waves alone, she has a lot of development that I find really, really engaging as well. Just one thing to add is that I forgot to talk about Iruka. Naruto and Iruka's dynamic, and how Iruka is the only or the first real family that Naruto ever had, it's beautifully done for the first chapter. It's a great foundation to show off Naruto's sort of situation and what he craves, while also substantiating Iruka really strongly. Iruka doesn't end up being a super prominent character, but that core that's established right from the beginning is essential, and he's one half of the reason that I think the first chapter is really effective in hooking you into the series, and hooking you into Naruto's character, and sort of the heart of a lot of these themes and a lot of the plot developments and how the characters will be written. So, Iruka's great, and I just forgot to talk about it. So, all these characters are great. All these characters are awesome. Again, for a more detailed overview, you can check out my streams. But these protagonistic characters are all awesome. And facing them, primarily we have Haku and Zabuza, who are so great. Haku is in a lot of ways a foil to the idea of what it means to be a shinobi from the perspective of, I guess, the audience. It's a big sort of wake-up call to the culture here. The way in which Haku found purpose and value and fulfillment through being the tool that he ended up being, and being fulfilled in that way, it is so sobering. It is so sad that someone could find fulfillment in that way, because everyone deserves to live and desire and find more than that. But Zabuza, for me, steals the show. Zabuza was arguably the best character of the Land of Waves, and the sort of complexities and nuance and almost reluctant connection he felt to Haku. The way in which he shed tears for Haku after hearing of from Naruto about how Haku felt, the way in which he grieved for Haku despite saying all this stuff to the contrary. It was such a watershed moment for Naruto as a series for me. It was sort of building up to that, and I was so engaged, and I was going, I'm pretty sure he cares, he genuinely does, but I was thinking maybe there'd be like a couple of glances that would indicate that, but no. Straight up tears, and a fervent desire to die as a human, a caring human, rather than a tool. Zabuza is just such a fantastic antagonist in such a limited role, and it really keyed me into the type of character work that Naruto could really bring about, that Kishimoto can write. Zabuza was fantastic. Zabuza really just found this beautiful connection with Haku in the midst of such turmoil and hell and just this warscape. And I don't really know if there is an afterlife in Naruto, but if there is, I really very much hope those two are together. What a fantastic dynamic between those two. What a fantastic dynamic between Zabuza and our protagonists and Kakashi, and the way that Kakashi lets him see, lets it all end with him seeing Haku's face and them dying together. This beautiful, yet such a tragic and horrifying relationship, but yet beautiful partnership in the midst of this hell. It really spoke to me. It really spoke to me. And what a poetic, beautiful end to the first arc. There are other characters here and there. There is Gato, who pretty much is just there to function as a platform for the more complex dynamics and characters and themes and set pieces to spring off from. Gato is what he needs to be. But the stars of the show are the ones I I mentioned before. We will get into the other characters because a bunch of them get introduced in the Chunin exams, obviously, but I think that's all I need to talk about right now. So Land of Waves, phenomenal. I've said this on Twitter, I said this during my streams, one of the best first arcs of anything that I've ever seen. It is a fantastic first arc. It is great. It sets the stage, it shows you, it keys you into a lot of dynamics. The world building, like I mentioned, the presentation is very sharp and fluid, and it flows so well. It's so clean, yet it's so rich and emotive and expressive when it needs to be. It's the token first arc. It is immediately easy to understand why so many people love Naruto just in this first arc, and it ended up being not just a great self-contained story, but one that set the stage for the future arcs to come. So, yeah, the Land of Waves, fantastic first arc, and, I mean, spoiler alert, my infatuation with the series would only go from strength to strength with the Chunin exams. That'll be in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please let me know your thoughts on it. We won't have time for, like I said, large-scale reviews or AJP's comments or the equivalent for Naruto, but I do love sharing my thoughts here. Hopefully you guys find these summaries to be as entertaining as they can be while you wash dishes or work out or do whatever, drive to work or use as a podcast or whatever. Hopefully you enjoyed, and thank you so much for listening. Many thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next review, which will be for the Chunin exams, where there is a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss there, and just like this video, it'll be very summed up and very general, but hopefully I'll be able to get my thoughts across and my feelings and emotions and how much the Chunin exams really shocked me in such a beautiful way. Many thanks for watching once again, and take care of yourselves. See you in the next one.